I'll just take a moment or two to speak about the language. Arriving there in 1956, you won't believe it, but they placed us in the little town of Rotodero. Have you ever heard of Rotodero? Yes. You have? Yeah, no electricity? But we lived there right in the middle of town. We didn't know a word of Sindhi. Well, I don't think hardly anyone in Rotodero knew any English either. But you know, that was the best place for us to be because we had to learn Sindhi if we were going to talk to people. And as I walked around the bazaar, I would pick up an item and ask what that is, and I would try to mimic what they said. And gradually, we began to put sentences together, and we began to be able to converse. It took us a while, but I realized that we needed someone to put a language course together in Sindhi. And we had been there 20 years. We were there 34, but after 20 years, I became rather fluent in Sindhi. But remember, I left in 1976 after 20 years, and I came back to the States for a few years, and then I went back. But when I went back, I went to Karachi. So it's been a while since I've spoken a lot of Sindhi. I can read it very well, I can write it, but I'm not so fluent in speaking it. Anyway, we realized we had to put a language course together so that those who came after us would not have the same struggle that we had in learning Sindhi. Although that was a good experience, I think that's a great way to learn. That's the way the children learn, isn't it? They just listen and they mimic. They listen and they mimic. But I went to the University of Chicago when I came back in '76, and I told the linguistics department, I know this language Sindhi, would you help me put a language course together? And so for half a year, a Dr. Zaidi, who was the chairman of the linguistics department in the University of Chicago, he sat with me several times a week, and we put this language course together. I didn't get a chance to take it back to Pakistan at that time to put it into practice, but there was a lady who was one of our colleagues who were working alongside us, and she said, I'll take it back and I will test it and I will finish it. And she did that. If you'll hand me, yes, this book, Sindhi, an introductory course for Sindhi, for English speakers. So maybe you need to teach your children Sindhi. And this might be a good book to use. But it is a wonderful way to learn Sindhi. Actually, it's the only course in the world, I guess, that teaches Sindhi. It's an introductory course, and if you do go through this and you learn it well, then you'll be able to take off and really become fluent in Sindhi. It's a $40 book, but it's being sold for only $20. And they told you about Jonathan's book, which was University of Chicago, pardon me, University of Georgia, published this book of our little boy growing up in Pakistan. And you found that fascinating, as well as Betty's book and her experiences of growing up in Pakistan. Okay, thank you.
We want to hear you in Sindhi, talking in Sindhi.
मूंखे ॾाढी ख़ुशी थी आहे त मां हिते तव्हां सां गॾु मां तव्हांखे ॿुधायो त मां सिंधी में हाणे मां मूंखां विसरी वई आहे पर Say, do you do that? You mix Urdu and Sindhi all the time, don't you? Yeah, well, I do too. Because after Sindhi, I had to learn Urdu because I lived in Karachi for 10 years after I had learned Sindhi quite fluently. Anyway, I'm just like you now. I can mix my Sindhi and my English and my Urdu all together.
Now I request Ms. Darshan, please present a gift to the guests. Now I request Mr. Farooq Sumro to
I want to say that I'm so glad to see some people from Macon and Warner Robins here. That's where we're from. We live in Macon and Warner Robins area.
I request Farooq Sumro to have a proclamation from the state of Georgia to our guests.
I know it's kind of crowded, but we're going to make it happen, guys. Okay? This is it. So, a resolution recognizing the celebration of Sindhi Topi and Ajrak Day and commending the contribution of Mr. Hubert Addleton and Mrs. Betty Rose Addleton for other purposes. Whereas on December 5, 2010, friends and families in metropolitan Atlanta will gather to celebrate and pay tribute to more than 5,000 years of Sindhu civilization and heritage. Whereas in honor of the celebration, Mr. Hubert Addleton, author of Sindhi, an introductory course for English, has agreed to be in attendance to share his works and experiences. Whereas also in the honor of the celebration, Mrs. Betty Rose Addleton, author of The Day the Chicken Cackled. That's the book, I think, the pink color book. Accepted to share her more than 30 years of experiences. I know there is not enough time. They will be around, so please talk to them. Whereas on December 5th, not only will people of Sindh celebrate this day by wearing traditional clothing of Topi and Ajrak, local people and those all over the world will join in the celebration as well. Whereas in celebration of Sindhi Topi and Ajrak days, participants are requested to bring any memorabilia, books, paintings, clothes, pictures. So we thank you for that, and I see a lot of them appear on the table. Please go through them. In preparation of this amazing celebration of Sindhi culture, it is abundantly fitting and proper to commend and honor all those who have worked tirelessly and generously in creating a celebration that will be enjoyed by all the attendants. Now, therefore, by it resolved by the Senator of the 5th District of Georgia, the Sindhi Topi Day and Ajrak Day, we celebrate with fun, frolic, and homage to Sindhi culture and tradition, while recognizing the contribution of Hubert and Betty Rose Addleton. Signed by Senator Kurt Thompson, District 5. Thank you so much, and we present this to the Alright. And as you can see, we're trying to rush everybody through this, but we want you to know that we have some really good talent here tonight. So the second resolution, again by the state of Georgia, commending the Sindhi Association of North Sana, Georgia chapter, Sana, Georgia, for fostering Sindhi culture, language, heritage, and expanding goodwill in Atlanta, Georgia, irrespective of race, color, and gender. Whereas Sindhi Association in North America and the Georgia chapter is a not-for-profit organization dedicated for fostering friendship and understanding between Sindhis and other nationalities to educate people about Sindhi civilization, philosophy, value, language, literature, history, and heritage. It helps in scientific development and education in the field of medicine and to deliver all better health care, irrespective of race, color, creed, and gender. Sana saves lives and relieves suffering through the participation in all the different relief programs, charitable activities at home and abroad. Whereas Sana was established in 1984, Sana is one of the largest ethnic associations in North America, representing more than 5,000 physicians other than healthcare professionals and different professional groups of Sindhi descent serving across the US and Canada. Sana, Georgia is recognized for the following health and humanitarian charitable works. Number 1, celebrating Sindhi Topi and Ajrak Day, 2nd annual. Free medical and health clinic for the residents of Atlanta, Pakistan, flood relief work and fundraising, leading community advocacy and local and national elected officials. Whereas the following representatives of the Sana are recognized for their excellence in serving the humanitarian and other causes. Dr. Muhammad Abbasi and Faryal Baloch, Dr. Ghulam Mustafa and Darakshan Jarwal, Ambal, myself, and Sandra. Dr. Chandar and Sunita Bhimani. Mr. Tanveer and Sana Malvi. Imtiaz and Amanda Sheikh. Dr. Nazra and Mr. Amir Said Baloch. Mr. Nader and Laila Panjwani. Mr. Asif and Nahid Qadri. And I think the list will be longer next year. So these people have really helped us from the last year, so we really appreciate them. Now, therefore, it is resolved by the House of Representatives that the Sindhi Association North America, Georgia chapter for the fostering of Sindhi culture, language, heritage, and expanding goodwill in Atlanta. Be it further resolved that the Clerk of the House of Representatives is authorized to recognize and present this resolution to Dr. Ghulam Mustafa Jarwar and Mrs. Darakshan Jarwar. So I thank you all for everything.